Hey all, welcome to my fishing show debut where I'll show some of my catches and also share some tips and tricks on how I catch fish. Every time I start a fishing session, I usually aim to set a couple of rods right away to use the Murphy Law effect. There's a chance they'll go off while I'm busy doing other stuff like mixing burley and the like. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. It will really encourage me to keep creating videos like this. Notice I'm using automatic spring snares. They're not very sensitive and really help to filter out small fish. I found that mostly only good size ones are able to trigger them. Here I'm preparing some ground bait for feeder fishing. Let me know in comments below if you'd like to know the ingredients. So I've set 3 fishing rods in total to hopefully catch some bream or flathead while I'm fishing on my feeder. Notice that in NSW the legal limit of fishing rods set on salt water is 4. For those new to fishing though, fishing on multiple rods can get rather tricky. So if you're only getting started with this awesome hobby, start with just 1 or 2, not 4. Now that the ground bait is mixed and the 3 fishing rods are set, it's time to set up my feeder rod, which I was hoping would be my main action rod for this session. Feeder fishing is a totally separate topic though. It's very popular in Europe, but interestingly not in Australia. Let me know in comments below if you'd like me to record another video on feeder fishing. It's an awesome and efficient method to catch freshwater fish like carp, etc. While the start was promising and I almost immediately caught a good-sized flathead on the feeder, spoiler alert later in the video, I will have to switch to my float rod. And sorry I didn't catch the actual catch on camera. It turned out that the GoPro camera wasn't recording, my bad. For now, I decided to keep the fish, but at the end of the session I released it to grow and fight another day. Here's the Murphy's Law in action. If it isn't biting, start doing something else, like check on the landing net or something. See, almost immediately one of the rods goes off. That's what I'm talking about. But also, as I said previously, these automatic rod holders are really good in filtering out small fish, or at least I'd like to think this way. Here, I happened to notice that the middle rod had some action on it. So I grabbed it and almost immediately felt some really good biting. There was really something heavy pulling back quite strongly. But unfortunately, the fish, or whatever it was, got off. And now the Murphy's Law switched to my feeder as apparently I missed a bite or two. I wanted to check whether the bait was still on it, and reeled in some pufffish. I had to cut the hook off as the fish swallowed it all the way, and I'd have killed it if I tried taking it out. This novelty didn't help much with my karma though, as on my next cast, the feeder cage got snagged onto something and I lost the whole rig. Didn't bother to tie another one and switched to the float rod instead to hopefully catch some mullet. Here's the snag, not sure what it is there at the bottom. Need to remember not to cast that way next time. And to brighten the day, a pelican came by. Here's my float fishing rod. I always carry one as a backup for cases like with the feeder that I mentioned earlier. Now I'm using the feeder ground bait as burley for float fishing. Hopefully it will attract some mullet. Now it's time to enjoy the nature, fresh air and scenery. That's what the fishing is about. I noticed some shy bites on the float, so it looked promising. Just a little trick here, I always try and prepare extra leads with hooks already tied, ready to replace them lost ones quickly if needed. My own invention, a display folder, does the trick really well. Been using it for ages, it's light and easy to see through. Here I grabbed the leaders with pre-attached big hooks, as I was certain I would catch some bait fish soon on the float, so I could use it as live bait on one of my other rods to catch a really big predator type fish like flathead, etc. I was also thinking to maybe use pilchard as bait, but then sorry, I got too lazy to re-rig one of the other rods and I postponed it till later. This isn't a good advice though. If you want to be successful in fishing, laziness isn't your best friend. Let's just say I wasn't in the mood at the time, and maybe I somehow intuitively knew what was coming. Did you hear it? The snare went off. Initially I ignored the bait, thinking whatever it was got off, but then look at this. Those snares are rather strong. They won't let the rod fly into the water easily, and I had time to react. Now here's a clusterfuck, for a lack of a better word. The reel wasn't working as intended. It was letting the line out easily even though I tried to adjust the drag while trying to reel the fish in. Another lesson learnt. Reels need to be checked and maintained before fishing. This one is probably 15 plus years old. Time to replace it altogether. I still managed to reel the bugger in though. Keep watching. And remember, I said it's tricky to fish on multiple rods at the same time. Here's the evidence. One of the other rods went off and got in the way. Maybe the fish I was reeling in triggered it, not sure. Either way, I had to sort it out as I kept fighting the fish, which was rather awkward considering I had problems with the reel too. Okay, so this was a stingray. The key word is sting, question to self. What am I supposed to do with it? I never got one out here before, the bank isn't flat. It's gonna be tricky and dangerous. I don't want to get stung just before the New Year's. Oh, and by the way, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year everyone. So the plan was, put a leather glove on and try to just pull the bugger in, using the line straight, and hopefully it won't hold. And the plan worked. I even managed to keep the hook. Not sure though if I come back here again fishing. I really don't like stingrays. They're tricky to handle. Maybe next time we'll just cut the line off and let them go. That's what the fisheries say anyway. It seems that our fishing partner, the pelican, wasn't losing much time. It must have gotten a fish. The fish was biting on the float, but the bites were rather shy and for some time I couldn't catch any, but I kept at it. And by the way, another tip for newbies, persistence is the key in successful fishing. Which is showcase here. It's a first catch on the float today, third in total. Let's say I didn't get the stingray out, it got off. This bream is too small to accompany the flathead. I let it go to grow and fight another day. Second one, another small bream. Oh, and another pro tip, notice how small the hook is. The trick is that you can get a large fish on a small hook like I landed that flathead with earlier, but you can't get a small one on a big hook. So the smaller the hook, the more chances of catching live bait or mullet, which is a very careful fish and is actually rather hard to catch. A mullet, finally. But it was getting rather hot already and that clusterfuck earlier had the best of me. I wasn't really too keen on using it as live bait and look at it, it was really making the effort to escape, which I think deserved a reward, so I let it go. And that was the fourth catch on the float today. Sixth catch today, another mullet, a bigger one. Perhaps the first one told him and that it's good fun to explore the air and they let you go anyway. But little did it know that I changed my mind and decided to go for a bigger fish. I use it as live bait. So I set it aside to hopefully catch the first one back as it was smaller, a better live bait. Seventh catch, a small bream, and you can't use bream as live bait. The legal keep size is 25 centimeters, otherwise let it go. Sorry mullet, you may need to serve a bigger purpose. But spoiler alert, it survived, no bites, so I let it go safe and sound back into the water at the end of the fishing session. And this is our 8th catch and release fish today. Nine, meaning fish number 9 of course. 10. Another mini bream. Go small hooks. "11th. I think they have a nest over there." And as I was getting increasingly worried about that poor little mullet guarding my sinker at the bottom of the river, I decided it's time to wrap up. First things first, let's release the flathead and take the keep net out. The reason being is so that I can give the net a chance to dry in the sun while I'm packing everything else up. It was about 12 p.m. at the time, so 5-hour session in total, condensed into 30 minutes for your enjoyment. Thank you all for watching. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please consider subscribing, liking and sharing. It will really encourage me to keep creating videos like this. Have a nice day and tight lines. Cheers.